Hi, and welcome to part 2 of my gaming story of how the power of consoles has changed. In case you missed episode 1, okay, so what do I mean about bits and bytes? A bit holds one piece of data on a computer. Bits are usually grouped together in a bunch of 8 bits. They make up 1 byte of information. 1 byte of information can store a single character, like H. So we know 8 bits make up 1 byte, and 1 byte can store the letter H. This was the start of the 8-bit CPU era, running at 64 or 128 bytes of RAM. And this is where the Magnavox Odyssey and the Atari 2600 were at. Moving into the next era of power, we had the 16-bit 16 to 48 kilobytes range. Although it didn't feel like it at the time, the Sinclair ZX Spectrum was in this next higher power range than the Atari. 2 years later, in 1988 when I was 11, I received my next computer, which was still in the same power range, the good old Amstrad CPC464. Released in April 1984, the Amstrad had 3 standard display modes with an overall palette choice of 27 colours, but only a maximum amount of colours on screen at once. By the time I received my Amstrad, they had already been out for 4 years. After having the Amstrad for quite a while, I swapped it with a friend for his Commodore 64, which had very similar specs and was equally a great machine. The games for the machines were on cassette tape, and they cost about £3 at the local shop. When I got my Amstrad in 1988, I never knew the NES had already been out for 2 years, and I'd never even heard of one. NES stood for Nintendo Entertainment System, and was the first machine on the market that could probably be called a proper games console. The first time I saw the 8-bit NES was at a friend's house around 1991, and I thought it was awesome. But I never owned one myself because I still had the Amstrad. This was the first time we saw Mario, and he became a more recognised character worldwide than Mickey Mouse. Back then, in '91, the big companies of the console world were Nintendo and Sega, and they filled up that gaming space quite nicely. So by 2021 nowadays, Nintendo may always place third after Sony's PlayStation and Microsoft's Xbox, but Nintendo's consoles have been around since 1983. That's 11 years before Sony and 18 years before Xbox. And Nintendo holds the most unique console amongst the 3. Not to be understated, Nintendo was founded in 1889. By 1992, the 16-bit Super Nintendo was due out soon, and I was aged 15. I remember I used to Skype off school and not turn up, and instead go to the large department store in town called Owen Owen to play the SNES they had set up. There was a crowd of kids there playing Street Fighter 2, and the winner got to stay on. I think I had one turn and lost, but it was amazing just to stand there and watch it. The graphics compared to the 8-bit NES were fantastic, and there was so much more they could do with the games due to the extra storage space on the cartridge. And of course it was twice the power of the NES. I wanted the SNES so badly. I missed out on the NES, and the new SNES was amazing. I received my SNES Christmas of 1992, and I played it hard for years. It had awesome games like Street Fighter 2, SimCity, Super Mario Kart, Star Fox and Super Mario World, which I completed 100% with all the secret bits done. So many times, I've lost count. Hope you've enjoyed episode 2. Stay tuned for the rest of the episodes. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss them.